Hi guys, so something I want to talk about today is a certain type of sound that you often get in movies and TV shows that annoys many people who know about swords, and that is the sound of schwing when a sword comes out of a scabbard. Okay, now let's take a medieval sword here, so hand-and-a-half sword. It's in a leather scabbard. In a film, traditionally when I pull it out of the scabbard, it will go shing as it comes out. Here is a real sword, here is a real scabbard. That wasn't very impressive, was it? It doesn't give any tension to the scene or drama. You know, what you have to realise is that in TV programmes and films, I suppose they're trying to add tension by having the sound of a weapon. And you know, watching things like Walking Dead or whatever, often when a person moves a firearm, it makes a noise, usually a cocking sound, even though they're not cocking the weapon. I saw something where someone recently pointed a double-barreled shotgun at someone, and it made the sound of a pump-action shotgun, inexplicably, and the sound of cartridges hitting the ground when someone's using a revolver, these kind of crazy things. So this goes in this same box as those things. It's people putting sound effects into movies and TV to try and increase the drama. But remember that a sword coming out of a leather scabbard does not make a dramatic or impressive sound, and it certainly doesn't make a schwing sound. Okay? However, so most of you guys watching these videos will know that and will probably have ranted about this at some point. But where I believe the idea that swords coming out of scabbards does make that sound is probably from 19th century military swords. Now, in the 19th century, lots of military swords lived in metal scabbards. This one's brass, but most of them were steel. And even towards the end of the 19th century, where many swords started to go back into wooden scabbards again, they still had a metal throat at the top here, so the blade still encountered metal. Now, in Britain at least, and in some other countries, they realised that having a completely metal scabbard wasn't very good for your sharp sword edge. It slowly blunted it. Not so bad if it's a brass scabbard, because obviously brass is a lot softer than steel, the steel edge of the sword. But if you've got a steel or iron scabbard, it will slowly blunt your sharp edge on your sword. So what they started doing in Britain at least is the throat up here of the scabbard, which is really the only bit that comes into contact with the blade much, they started making of brass, or what was known as German silver, which is what we would call pewter now. Or sometimes they just left the top off completely, so you just had a wooden leather opening there. But just to demonstrate, if you have a scabbard like this one I'm holding, it doesn't have any wooden liner in it at all, whereas a lot of metal scabbards actually had a wood or leather liner inside. When you draw the sword, you get that sound, okay? And that, I believe, is where the idea that a sword coming out of a scabbard, if you imagine someone has watched soldiers, officers on a parade ground bringing their sword out and coming to attention, they're used to that sound of the sword coming out of the scabbard. And then of course when they go and make a film about medieval swords or Japanese swords or whatever, they think, the noise of a blade coming out of a scabbard should sound like this. So that's probably where it comes from. But I should add that this specifically is a metal-only scabbard, and this example has no liner in it. Many British and other nationality metal scabbards did have a wooden or leather liner inside, and although they make a similar sound to that, it's not as dramatic as that is. Okay, and most of the sound comes from the contact of the blade against the throat there. Okay, I hope that helps. Thank you.